The United States struck a railway bridge in northern Iran with cruise missiles Thursday morning, the deepest strike into Iranian territory since the war began, targeting a corridor that carries trade between Iran, China, and Russia. And that has become more important to Iran specifically because the U.S. blockade of its Gulf ports forced it there. Oil tanker traffic through the Strait of Hormuz has nearly come to a standstill. France beat Morocco 2-0 in the World Cup quarterfinals, with Kylian Mbappé scoring his 20th World Cup goal before leaving the match in the 77th minute with an ice pack on his right ankle. And Germany announced it will buy US Tomahawk missiles, closing what its chancellor called an important strategic gap, while the Kremlin said Putin is open to dialogue with Trump. And Venezuela's earthquake death toll reached 3,889. Let's take all three. The Aktake Khan railway bridge in Iran's Golestan province, in the country's northeast, near the Turkmenistan border, was struck by U.S. cruise missiles on Thursday morning local time. Iran's IRGC-affiliated Fars news agency confirmed the strike and identified the bridge as a strategic point on the China-Kazakhstan-Turkmenistan-Iran rail corridor, a route that connects Iran directly to both Russia and China overland. And that forms part of China's Belt and Road Initiative, running from Xi'an to Tehran. This is a different kind of strike from anything the U.S. has conducted since the conflict began in February. Every previous confirmed U.S. strike in this war has targeted military infrastructure in or near the Strait of Hormuz, air defense systems, command and control networks, coastal radar sites, small IRGC boats, anti-ship missile storage. The Golestan province bridge is hundreds of miles from the strait in northern Iran, targeting what is explicitly described as economic and trade infrastructure. Citing Anadolu Agency, confirmed the bridge was struck on the second straight day of its renewed strikes on the country. The BNE and Telenews assessment was direct. The strike marks one of the deepest U.S. attacks inside Iranian territory since the conflict began, extending the target list beyond military sites in the south to trade infrastructure. The strategic logic of the target requires some unpacking because it connects three stories that the Iran war coverage has kept mostly separate. The Iran International confirmed that Chinese train traffic on the line had tripled after the maritime blockade, meaning when the U.S. Navy blockade of Iranian Gulf ports closed down maritime trade, Iran and China pivoted to this overland rail route as the primary alternative. The U.S. has now struck that alternative. The rail corridor also carries Russian cargo into Iran. TASS confirmed that Tehran is actively receiving cargo from Moscow along this route, striking a bridge that simultaneously serves as Iran's main alternative export channel and the primary freight corridor from both China and Russia. Sends a message that extends well beyond the Strait of Hormuz. It tells Beijing and Moscow that their overland workarounds to the maritime blockade are also now on the U.S. target list. Iran suspended passenger rail services between Tehran and its northeastern city of Mashhad following the attack. Iran's foreign ministry, in a statement cited by Iran International, confirmed the U.S. had struck 3 locations in Iran's southern coastal provinces and 2 bridges on a railway route toward Mashhad over the past 48 hours. CENTCOM has not officially confirmed the Golestan bridge strike. U.S. Central Command's public statements have referenced strikes against approximately 90 Iranian military targets in recent operations, but have not addressed civilian rail infrastructure by name. As of Thursday evening, according to TASS's live coverage, oil tanker traffic through the Strait of Hormuz had nearly come to a standstill. The TASS report specified that vessel traffic is seen only in the northern part of the strait, off the Iranian coast, along the so-called Northern Corridor, a shipping route approved by Tehran, meaning commercial shipping through the main international transit lanes has effectively stopped. The economic implications are immediate and severe. The strait carries roughly a fifth of global oil supply. The global energy price consequences arrive within hours. Iran continued retaliating. Thursday also saw Iran fire 10 ballistic missiles at a U.S. military base in Jordan, according to reporting cited by TASS. Jordanian authorities confirmed all 10 missiles were intercepted, with no reported damage or casualties. Iran separately targeted U.S. bases in Kuwait, Bahrain, and Qatar in the preceding 48 hours. Defense Secretary Hegseth responded to the escalating exchange by saying the United States will continue hitting Iran hard. One element of the war's new phase deserves to be named directly, because it represents a significant escalation in how this conflict is being conceptualized. The Iranian rail route to China is part of Belt and Road infrastructure. China has officially maintained that it is not a party to this conflict. By striking infrastructure that China has specifically used to help Iran circumvent the US blockade, infrastructure that, per FARS, carries Beijing-bound freight and has seen Chinese train traffic triple in direct response to US pressure, the US is now creating facts on the ground that complicate China's claimed neutrality. China has not responded publicly to the Golestan bridge strike. From the world's second-largest economy and Iran's most important economic partner, is itself a data point worth watching. Now the World Cup, because France's performance in Foxborough yesterday deserves to be assessed on its own terms, and one specific subplot from the match will determine whether the French can sustain their dominance. France beat Morocco 2-0 at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. A rematch of the 2022 World Cup semifinal in Qatar, which also ended 2-0 in France's favor. The Atlas Lions left the match as the same Cinderella story they entered it: admirable, dangerous in patches, but ultimately outclassed by a French side whose attacking combination is operating at a level few teams in this tournament have matched. The key moments came in a 6-minute burst in the second half. Kylian Mbappé, who had missed a first-half penalty, saved by Yassine Bounou in one of 6 saves the Moroccan goalkeeper made on the day, put the ball past Bounou in the 60th minute, with what NPR described as a sensational shot beyond the long stretch of Bounou. That was Mbappé's 8th goal of the tournament and his 20th World Cup goal in 20 appearances, a record for goals per appearance at the level of tournament volume that only Messi has matched in career count. 6 minutes later, Mbappé found Ousmane Dembélé, who darted through the Moroccan defense per NPR and made it 2-0. That was Dembélé's 5th of the tournament. The match statistics tell the full story of how one-sided this was. ESPN confirmed France held a 21-4 advantage in shots on goal and an 8-1 edge in shots on target. The XG differential, France's 3.04 versus Morocco's 0.14, means that by the probabilistic measure of scoring chances created, France should have won this match by a margin somewhere between 3 and 4 goals. Morocco's goalkeeper kept it to 2. That's a dominant team facing a resilient opponent with an outstanding goalkeeper. Morocco's cause was complicated before kickoff by the absence of Ismail Saibari, their top scorer at this tournament, who scored in all 3 group stage matches before suffering a hamstring injury. His absence removed Morocco's most dangerous attacking option and limited what Atlas Lions coach Walid Regragui could build in transition. France now advances to the semifinals for the 3rd consecutive World Cup, a run that would make them only the 3rd nation in history to reach 3 successive finals if they win again. They play Tuesday in Dallas against the winner of Friday's Spain-Belgium quarterfinal. The subplot that matters most going into that match is the 77th minute of yesterday's game. Mbappé was substituted off with a slight limp. NPR confirmed he sat on the bench with an ice pack on his right ankle. Yahoo Sports observed the ice pack visible during the broadcast. The injury appeared non-serious. He walked off under his own power and waved to the crowd, but with a semi-final in 5 days, every France fan will be watching the next 48 hours of injury updates. Mbappé currently leads the Golden Boot standings at 8 goals with 3 assists, ahead of Messi's 8 goals and 1 assist. If the ankle is fine, France with a healthy Mbappé is the most complete team remaining in the tournament. If it isn't, the picture changes. And now 3 developments that came out of and after the NATO summit that deserve to be held in the same frame. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz announced in a speech to the German Bundestag Thursday that Germany has agreed to purchase US Tomahawk cruise missiles, a deal sealed on the sidelines of the Ankara NATO summit. We also agreed with the US government on the sidelines of the NATO meeting in Ankara that we would purchase US Tomahawk missiles and station them in Germany, Merz said. This will help us close an important strategic gap in our defense. confirmed by Anadolu Agency's July 10 morning briefing. The Tomahawk is a long-range, precision ground attack cruise missile with a range of approximately 1,700 kilometers. Germany stationing Tomahawks on its territory would represent the introduction of a deep strike land attack capability that Europe's largest economy has not previously possessed, and that would significantly alter the conventional deterrence calculus on NATO's eastern flank. These are weapons designed to strike targets at range. The decision, taken on the sidelines of a NATO summit at which the alliance reaffirmed its commitment to collective defense, while Iran simultaneously struck U.S. military bases in 4 countries, carries its own message about the direction of European security policy under this particular geopolitical pressure. Separately, the Kremlin said Thursday that President Putin is open to dialogue with President Trump. Anadolu Agency confirmed the statement. Trump said Wednesday at the NATO summit that he intended to speak with Putin soon. The context for that potential call: the NATO allies just reaffirmed Ukraine's security backing. Trump granted Ukraine a Patriot manufacturing license. Germany is buying Tomahawks. And the U.S. is in an active military conflict with Iran that has stretched into its 3rd consecutive day of strikes. What Putin and Trump would actually discuss in a call, Ukraine, Iran, or both, is unknown. What is known is that the Kremlin chose Thursday, with all of that context in the atmosphere, to signal openness. One more number because it deserves to stay visible. Venezuela's earthquake death toll has risen to 3,889 people killed, with 16,740 injured and thousands still displaced, according to Venezuela's National Assembly President, Jorge Rodriguez, as confirmed by Anadolu Agency's July 10 morning briefing. When I first reported this story on June 26th, the confirmed toll was over 920. On June 30th, it was 1,719. Last week, it was 3,300. It is now 3,889. It keeps climbing. This is Venezuela's worst earthquake disaster in modern history, and the coverage has largely been absorbed by the Iran war and the World Cup. 3 stories today. The United States struck a railway bridge used by China and Russia to trade with Iran, marking the first U.S. strike explicitly targeting economic supply chain infrastructure and the deepest penetration of Iranian territory since the war began. While oil tanker traffic through the Strait of Hormuz has nearly stopped, France advanced to its 3rd consecutive World Cup semifinal with a dominant 2-0 win over Morocco. But Mbappé left with an ankle issue that will be the only thing anyone in French football is thinking about until Tuesday. Germany is buying Tomahawk missiles, Putin is signaling dialogue, and Venezuela has now lost 889 people to earthquakes that were the biggest news story in the world for about 3 days before 2 wars and a World Cup absorbed the coverage. The railway bridge is the story that matters most for how this conflict escalates. Every other target the U.S. has struck in this war was either a military system or was described as one. A Belt and Road bridge in Golestan province is explicitly trade infrastructure. The line between military and economic targeting has been crossed. Where that line gets drawn next is the question that determines whether this war stays regional or becomes something that involves governments who haven't been involved yet.